Hey, it's Bill Gross, the LA Probate Expert, and this is our Probate Mastery weekly call. We get together every Tuesday at 12 p.m. noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time, and everything else on either side, to talk about all things probate real estate related. In particular, this is designed for students and graduates of the Probate Mastery program who are putting into practice those principles, and we want to get together and work through some of those common challenges and problems, because expertise is not a destination, it's a process. And I think business is also a marathon, not a sprint. And so hopefully we've all signed on to work together and help each other. I'm a practitioner, I'm not a full-time coach. I do a little bit of coaching on the Probate Master website. It's kind of a side thing, but really my main focus is my business is selling real estate in the state of California. It's probate focused. All my lead generation is probate focused. And I'm building a national team of probate experts. But I'm here today as a colleague to help answer your questions and share best practices and work together. So we have both the real estate agents, and we have investors and wholesalers who get on this program and want some help along the way. I will tell you that I tell people all the time, if you want to make more money, you want to talk to more people and create more value, one way is by participating. So if you're on this call and you want to make more money, turn on your camera. Let's see who you are. Put in the chat box your name, your address, your phone number, how we reach you, what you do, what you specialize in. Let's work together, but more importantly, put yourself out there, and then let's try to help each other build our businesses together and be more successful. If you want to, you can raise your hand for questions or put in the chat box. Best if you put in the chat box, if you start with a Q, that way I'll notice it's not just crosstalk, but I'll notice that there's a question lined up. And then we also cover the questions on the Probate Mastery alumni group. First hand up I see today is Alex. How can we help you today?
Hey, Bill, a pleasure to be speaking with you. My name's Alex, an aspiring wholesaler, and now I'm also taking online classes to get my real estate license.
Nice.
But in the process also, I've been doing some prospecting, and I found a lady who's in her, I think she's 74 years old, going through foreclosure. And I haven't talked to her, but through my research and skip tracing it, she's had a couple of people pass away in her family, and I'm thinking her husband's probably was one of them, and nobody else seems to be living there with her, and she's, I guess I'm guessing living it by herself. Property is due to be sold next month on the 9th, so I have just been like really kind of real hesitant on what to say. We'll call her at first and see if there's any way I can help her. So I was just wondering if you can give me any of your insight on that. And the second part is actually my mom was talking about, finding out how much she owes on a property, bring the loan current, and maybe she invested into the property herself.
Well, as far as your mom, obvious answer, get the mortgage statement, call the lender, find out what the balance is, and she has to sell the house or get a loan on it. There's lines of equity that are available for those kinds of things. As far as the client, the prospect, a lot of the questions we get in this call and other calls I see are, it's thinking about making a phone call, but there's a lot of hypotheticals that rattle around our brain because we're scared to make the calls. And there's two parts to the work. One of my mentors is Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. And he uses the term a lot, which is doing the work. And so I would say to you that part of the value of making the phone call is the lead. And part of the value of making the phone call is getting better at making phone calls and talking to prospects. That's a skill if you want to be successful as a wholesaler or investor or an agent, you have to develop. And so rather than go through a lot of possible hypotheticals, I will always say, well, why don't you call and offer her assistance and see what she thinks your problem is. Take detailed notes.
Yes.
And then get answers to those questions, either coming back on this call or going into the Probate Mastery Alumni Facebook group or other places, and then come back to her with resources. Because I think that rather than talk about a lot of hypotheticals, I don't want to support kind of the mind games we play. Well, what if I call and she says, what if I call and say this? If she has a problem and you're offering to help her and you come across genuinely as offering to help her, then she'll look for your help. And the fact her house is in foreclosure, you have to tread that very lightly. You obviously can't say, hey, I know you're facing foreclosure, there's a gun to your head, you just lost some people in your family, I'm here to buy your house on the cheap and flip it to make money. That's not going to work. But how do you get to where you talk to people sensitively? Well, you talk to people and develop that skill. And so I'd say, Alex, make the phone call. Just be polite, smile, sensitive, listen a lot, take notes, and see what she needs. And then from there, you can offer a solution. But without knowing what her issues are, she may already have a deal in works for all you know. It's just impossible to really speculate.
Yes, I've seen some of yours and Chad's YouTube videos, and basically, yeah.
Make the call, do the work, make the call, find out. There's no solution short of making the calls. There's no script short of making the calls. Just call and be polite and see what her problem is and see how you can help.
You're right. One more quick question. Like I said, my mom was interested in maybe bringing the loan current also and investing. She owns her own property, but she's retired, so she probably have trouble trying to get equity out. Chad told me about the HELOC, a home equity line of credit. Maybe she might qualify for something like that also. So maybe we can get some repair money, fix the property up, maybe go in on a joint venture with her or something like that.
Generally these kind of situations are a little more sophisticated for first-time investor, in my experience. That said, she might want to get involved with it if she wants to. A line of credit, usually you can get them from your bank, your credit union. You have to qualify for them, but they're a little easier to qualify for if you have good credit. And it might not take a lot of money. You might find out that the back payments are $5,000 or $10,000, and your mom might have a $15,000 line available. So again, you guys call her and find out what the problem is before you start putting together a solution. I wouldn't shop at Home Depot for tools until I had a plan of what I wanted to build.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you very much, Bill.
Great, my pleasure. Thank you. So again, if you have any questions, anybody on the line here, feel free to raise your hand or put in the chat box, and then I see everybody putting in their names and numbers. If you have a question, if you could just start with the letter Q, that way I'll try to pick that out. I don't see any live. I noticed in the Probate Mastery, and we see this from time to time, Karen was asking for somebody to collaborate with in Arkansas. So if you're a Probate Mastery grad and you missed that, you want to go to the Probate Mastery Alumni Facebook group, and you can reach out to Karen perhaps and find. There are a couple of people that were recommended. Actually, Chad recommended somebody, so maybe ignore my input there. But in general, I would say, when you look for somebody, you want to be as specific as you can. What are you looking for specifically? What do you need done? What's the problem you need a solution with? I just find, I often find people will come in and ask a question and look for somebody in a state. Well, some states are big. You really want somebody who has a particular skill that you're looking for, and usually in a particular area would be preferred.
Thank you, Bill. Roger Lacey. We had a nice long talk last night. Very helpful. He responded to me, and I see the group works. So I appreciate you mentioning that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it does work. I think it does. And I see that most of the questions come in have quite a few comments. So good. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know if Trina is on the call, but Trina Davis had another question that she's on the call. I saw you had a question about you're stuck as far contact people regarding where the owner's passed. You're stuck in your intro. What do you say once you get somebody on the phone? Is it better to call or mail in these situations? So just in general, a couple questions she asked, I think are among the most common questions we get. Number one, what do I say? And so what I would say is that you can look on the website and there's what to say, kind of a basic of a script. But I think what's important is, and Chad talks about regularly, is not the script, it's kind of the come from. What's the attitude when you call somebody? Nobody wants to talk to a telemarketer. Nobody wants to talk to a barracuda looking to take a bite out of them in order to get a commission check. Everybody with problems wants a friendly shoulder and somebody who's looking to give them a hand to lift them up. And so I would say, Trina, that if you just really think about what would a person in that situation want in that circumstance, or ask questions and find out and be available either to say, well, I don't have that solution, but I'm part of a national team of probate experts with a couple thousand across the country. Let me get back to you on that. I would say just calling and being empathetic and finding out what their problem is, what their plan is, what they'd like to do, and then see if you're able to solve that problem. That's the key to this whole process. And I think we're scared to do it before we do it. And then the next question she asked, which you get a lot also, is it better to call or mail? And the answer is yes. Mail costs money. And I would say in general, you have to think of mail as 6 or 8 or 10 times a campaign. You're talking about $6 or $8 or $10 per lead. You might have 500 leads. That could be $3,000 to $5,000 or more, depending on how much you're going to spend on mail. When you're starting out, usually you don't have extra cash to invest. And so I say to agents, you're not going to convert the mailers generally without phone calling. So why not start with the phone calls? You can always add mailing later. So my general advice to agents is start with phone calling. It's free and it will help you learn the process. It'll help you learn to convert people when the time comes that you mail. It'll help you learn how to convert those people more effectively than when you just mail out. Because obviously, if you mailed out 100 pieces and you got 100 phone calls, what are you going to talk about? They're going to call you up, and the answer is you might as well just call them and start those conversations on your end. I saw Cindy on the call on the website ask for somebody in Brooklyn, and of course, somebody comes back and says that they're familiar in Queens, which is close, but in different boroughs, different county in essence. And so if you are experienced probate, and it says even here with probate experience, I suspect Cindy's looking for a probate real estate agent, not a probate attorney. But again, we won't be specific when we go online and ask for referrals. And then Michael asked another great point. I don't know if Michael Lund is on the call today. So he says, would a website touting my services as a realtor professional be associated with a business entity from activities as a real estate agent, with the business entity from activities as an investor, or yet a different business entity? So I think what he's asking is, do I tell people I'm a realtor and investor? Do I tell people I'm an investor? Do I tell people I'm both? And I think the answer is, what are you? And I always feel you wouldn't be authentic in your marketing. I don't think you want to pretend to wear two different hats. I think you want to wear the hat that fits and be authentic with that. So my advice would be, figure out what your role is. What do you really want? I am an investor, but I'm not really looking to contact probate leads for investment property. They're not the kind of property I want to invest in. I'm looking for properties that cash flow, and generally probates are severe fix and flicks or so you have to think about what you want and where you want it. And also, is that where you want to buy properties to rehab? Some people make a lot more money on investment flips and want to be investors. Great. I think Dave Pinnell is one of those. Other people like me are really, I want to be a real estate broker. I make extra money and invest some extra money, but I don't invest in the kind of properties that I lead generate. They're two different things. So Michael, it depends on where you are and what you want to be. And I think all of us have to think about the number one challenge I think realtors have is we're not clear on what value we create to the marketplace. When we're not clear, it makes it very hard for us to present that to prospects and customers. When we're clear, I'm very clear. I'm an expert in helping families and attorneys sell probate real estate in California. And when I'm clear on that, then the marketing strategy becomes more clear. I'm an investor too, but I'm not a great investor. I would buy a property, a lipstick flip. If I can buy a property and trash it out and clean it out and put it back in the market, I would do it and move quickly. I'm good at that, but I'm not looking for those. There's just not that many of them in the probate space. So you have to be clear on what you're looking for. Make sure that you put that out there so you can attract that kind of business to what you're looking for. Hey, real quick, while I have you guys on the phone, would you put into the chat box if you're a realtor or you're an investor, primarily, or a wholesaler? Right? And I understand we can all do all three, and I've done all three. But what if you could build one? If I could give you a magic wand, would you be more successful in your business as a realtor, or more successful as an investor, or more successful as a wholesaler? What would your primary focus be? It's like mostly realtors. Okay. If you're investors, there we go. Investors making a comeback, more realtors. Okay. So it looks to me 70% or so are realtors. So if I speak to that more, that's because I think that's where more of this audience is. That's not true of all probate programs. This one is, I think, more realtor focused. Though Chad is really more of investor focused, I think. It's his style. So I don't know if it's because we attract realtors more, or if on this call I help keep more realtors on. I'm not sure what the reason for that is. So on the Roger's a broker and been doing probate for 30 years. Roger, good for you. Where are you located, Roger?
Fremont, California. So I do Southern Alameda County.
California, Southern Alameda County. So Oakland Raider territory, it sounds like.
Yeah. I've been working with a local attorney for many, many years, and
Nice.
It has been a really good source of probates.
I would think particularly in that area, I think you'd have a real good shot at it. Good. What's the biggest challenge you have in building your business? I appreciate having you on the call today. What's your biggest challenge?
Dealing with the crazy families. Everyone has got heirs fighting with each other. I can't tell you how many lawsuits I've settled, mainly just by calling each and every one and keeping them updated.
You know, it's really interesting you say that. I think that's my strength. My father was an attorney, and I interned in his law firm for a few years when I was in high school and college. And as a real estate agent, I've disproportionately done business with attorneys. In the last 3.5 years, focused on probate real estate. And the number one thing I think I do best is when there's multiple parties. In fact, one of the first probate listings I got, I was in court, and there was two petitioners fighting over who would run the estate. And I reached out to both attorneys saying I would be glad to arbitrate and be in the middle as a realtor, and would sell the house. The money goes into escrow rather than have a vacant house with a loan and such on it. And I'm good at that. And what's the magic to that is I would call both parties and I would status both attorneys. Just today, I have a case where I had these two warring parties, but I reach out to both principals, and then if they don't answer, I send them both personal emails. I copy and paste the same email, and then I contact both attorneys. So everybody's involved in what goes on. It takes an extra 3 minutes, maybe an extra 5 minutes, but that's critical, and I think it's a great asset. It's hard to explain to an attorney how you're good at that. It's something you can build over time, but I think the attorneys really value that skill. So good for you.
Bill?
Yes.
This is Deborah. I'd like to ask Roger how he met the attorney that he's working with. How did that relationship come about?
Sure.
Actually, I brought him a probate 30 years ago, and it was an extremely difficult one where there were no heirs living in the property or in the area. The attorney did a name search and came up with a niece living a couple of 100 miles away. We ran her through for letters and received them, and I orchestrated clean out of the house, and we sold it. And it caught on fire the very next day.
Wow.
I had tarped the roof because it was in terrible shape. And the buyer went in and pulled the tarps off, and it rained and caught on fire.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Yeah.
You can tell real probate people from fakes. The fake people tell you how tough the business is. The real ones will brag about how tough it is.
Yeah.
Did it have insurance?
Thank goodness it did.
Good. Good. Bill, I wanted to comment on that answer you gave earlier. I just wanted to say that was a great answer you gave. What are you? Who are you? I really like that answer. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
My pleasure. Yeah, my sponsor, one of my mentors is Don Hobbs, who, when I was in real estate, I started in 1986. The first two coaching options were Mike Ferry, and then Hobbs Herder was an alternative. And Hobbs Herder was a company that created the concept that real estate agents should market themselves. Back in those days, it was through the company branding. Of course, in those days, the signs all went to the company front desk. Phone systems were all corporate phone systems. We didn't have cell phones then, so it made sense. And Hobbs Herder was the first company to say, well, leave your high commission charging company and go to one that charges less. That's how RE/MAX really grew. People were leaving Section 21, Coldwell Banker, paying on a 60% split to go to RE/MAX. I mean, they called 100%, but whatever. But take the difference and brand yourself. And so Don Hobbs has had that concept of branding in focus. And he has a YouTube channel, a YouTube video called The Brand Is You. And I saw him do it in person. It was life-changing. And I sat down and thought about, that's where probate kind of came to mind. But more than just probate, kind of a specific vision of what I wanted to build within my business. Once I got clear on that vision, the next steps made a lot of sense. And that's the key part, is when you're clear on the bullseye, the path to get the arrow on the bullseye is more clear than when you're not clear where you're shooting at. And so I find most people's challenge in real estate in particular is not being crystal clear on what you're trying to accomplish. And if you just buy a program and copy what they do, it's not authentic or genuine. If it feels inauthentic, that's the problem. And so you want to be really clear on what you want to do. So thank you for pointing that out. Let's see. I wanted to share also, just in the Probate Mastery, Miriam Cruz shared some material she put together. I thought it was fantastic, a probate handbook. And she was asking for feedback on it. And I just want to show you, describing what probate is and the personal representative's responsibilities. How long does probate take with a timeline? What if you have to sell a property? What you can expect from us? Resource list, a picture, a big smile, important notes. And I would say this isn't for everybody. I mean, I have a handout that's more me. And I haven't met Miriam. I think we've talked on the phone, on the Zoom call before. But you want to make sure whatever you do marketing is you. And so she's asking for some feedback on it. I think it's great. It's an amazing piece. I think it's fantastic. And for the right approach, it's a fantastic tool. But for some of you who would buy them and have them sit in your desk and never use them, because that's just not you, whether it be the concept or those particular approaches to customers. So really important. I think it's a fantastic marketing piece for her. And wish her luck with it. I'd love to hear how, I know she asked for some feedback. I'd love to kind of get the after story of how do people react to it once you got it done. But for all of us,
I'm sorry, where is she asking the feedback from, us or somebody else?
yeah, I guess I keep referring to the Probate Mastery group in Facebook. I'll put the link in there. If you're not a member, this is for Probate Mastery alumni, which I think is what this call's about. So it's a great resource for anybody who's taking the Probate Mastery or is in it, or an alumni is welcome to participate. Great place if you're building your business out. This is where we want to go and work together to answer these kinds of questions, get feedback, get input, look for tools like this and things like that. This was just Miriam's particular marketing piece, but I thought it was exceptional. So,
Okay, Bill, it's me again. Where can I look at the booklet?
well, if you go to the Facebook group, it's right there. It's like the second or third post down.
Okay, all right.
That's why I was sharing with you guys let me just show you real quick. I'm just sharing the screen. Probate Mastery alumni group.
Okay.
Is the group, and then if you just go there and scroll down, it's really, I guess, it's most relevant. That's interesting. It's not the newest activity. Well, it's actually also the newest. It's 11 hours old. So
Okay.
anyhow, but it's a great resource for all you guys who are if you've taken Probate Mastery, for sure you want to use this as a resource. If you haven't, another reason to take the course is, again, this is not about a one-time fix. I think that's the mistake. I talk to people all the time who will tell me, oh, I took a certification 5 years ago. That's the problem. I think that if you had taken Chad's program, I'm not sure when he launched this a year or two ago, you still are a member of the alumni group. You're still on this call. The call's great. Of course, I think it's great. It's also great because you guys participate and play along. And then the Facebook group is a great tool to help as well. Okay, other questions? Raise your hand.
Bill,
Yes.
Roger here.
Hey, Roger.
In California, the probate referee comes out and does a drive-by appraisal. And we are limited. If we cannot sell within 90% of that appraisal, we have to go back for reappraisal, which can be a real bear. I can't see how investors can really benefit from buying probates unless they wait till it's gone through the whole system and then they try and make a deal.
Right. So what Roger's talking about, in California, we have really two tiers of probate sales. So that's true only on limited authority cases. On full authority, the executor administrator can sell it for whatever they want to whoever they want, unless somebody objects. If they're the only heir, there's nobody else to object, then they can sell. If they're the only heir and nobody else objects, i.e. creditors or anybody else. In California, a percentage of sales, about 10% of probate real estate, has what's called limited authority, or it's a full authority case, but they want to go to court for court confirmation of sale. The court confirmation process in California, and it's similar in some other states, not all, is the court hires an appraiser they call a probate referee to do an inventory and appraisal report. And the statute says they can't sell the property for less than 90% of that report. That's what Roger's talking about. So for example, if the property appraises at $500,000 by the probate referee, not an independent appraiser, but by the court appointed probate referee, then the court won't confirm a sale by code less than $450,000. So I deal with this regularly. This is my area. I focus in on these court confirmation sales. I can tell you a couple of things. Number one, I have had judges approve sales less than 90%, where I showed them it's a drive-by appraisal, but unbeknownst to the appraiser, on the inside, we discovered mold. The inside, it was thrashed. I reached out to the appraiser and he wouldn't change the value. And I say, so here's the other comparables he's comparing it to, and they're normal houses. Inside, I had a case where we found black mold. And so literally the investor was faced with about a $5,000 bill. Of course, you never know what you find when you have mold. You go inside, you rip out some walls, you have to go further. And so I've personally had judges approve it. I've seen judges approve less than 90%, but you have to make a case. The judge has authority to do whatever they want, number one. Number two, I've reached out to probate referees. Now it's interesting, probate referees in California, the code is they have up to 60 days to turn their report. Now they're supposed to order right away. And so if it's ordered as soon as they get authority, it only takes 60 days. Well, I tell people, go ahead and sell the property subject to getting the report and know that you have that 60-day period and call the appraiser and try to get them done sooner. Some probate referees will move more quickly because the sooner they turn the report in, the sooner they get paid. Some don't care. I would say about half don't care. Some are very polite. You call on the phone, they're glad to help, glad to work with you. If you have some data, they'll look at it, adjust the report. And about half, they're not going to listen to you. So I recently had a case where we had a sale, and the best price I can get was 2.1 and change. And we had an appraisal done by the objector at 2.6. And the appraisal done by the buyer, by their bank, was 2.6. Now, in both cases, the appraisers didn't adjust for the fact that they were probate sales, subject to court confirmation, and so on. And also, there's another factor of the property that they didn't take into account. So, but the probate referee came in at $3.9 million, 50% higher than the price we had. And I had it on the market for 60 days. It was a commercial property. So, I mean, we went to the appraiser, we went back to him, we went back to him, we went back to him, we went back to him. And finally, the attorney had to say, listen, we're going to go to court tomorrow with you or without you. And if you don't adjust, and here's an appraiser from Cushman Wakefield Appraisal Department. Here's another commercial realtor. And here's market statistics showing we've had in the market all the time. We have no other offers. We have no other choice but to bring it to the judge that your value is way out of line. And in a nice way. And as a result, he did adjust the appraisal to, I want to say 2.6, which was the same as the two appraisals. So I will say it is difficult, Roger, you're right. It can be done. You've got to tiptoe around them a little bit, but I would definitely say that A, you can work with probate referees sometimes, and you should always be professional when we do. And then B, sometimes if you have to, you can go directly to the judge, and the judge may approve it based on and circumstances you can document. That's my experience. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Richard De La Cruz, I see your hand up. Let's get you unmuted. And how can we help you?
Hey, Bill, how are you? Just a quick question. So I was following up on a probate lead, just checking in on it. Just so happens that I went over to the property, it was vacant, and I provided him with no trespassing sign. So after I followed up with him about a month later, because it seems he has a complicated situation, because it's been more than like 9 months. He still hasn't had the letters yet. But he said to me, "Hey, so I was checking in. He knew who I was. He says, "Hey, I'm gonna take off that sign because it gives the indication that there's nobody living there, and it's more prone for a problem to happen." I said, "Hey, was that your lawyer who said that to you, or it's just you just decided?" "No, my lawyer said I could do whatever I want. Do what I want." I said, "Okay, well, I put it there because it takes any problem away. But if you feel contrary to that, then that's what you want to do. It's fine." What do you think I should have said to him?
So first off, I would say that in sales, anything when the customer disagrees with us is an objection by definition. And we always want to follow the 3-step objection response process. Step 1, repeat what they say. The biggest complaint that customers have about real estate agents or investors or salespeople is we don't listen. So if he doesn't think you listen to him, you're not going to change his mind. So the first thing I always would say is, okay, so you want me to take the sign down? I can understand why you would say that. And second, you affirm their comment. I understand why you'd say that. Third, the reason why I recommend the sign, and I work with a team of probate experts around the country, is we find that gives you better legal standing to remove a squatter if anybody is to break in. And yes, it does kind of put a target on the house, but at the same time, it also gives you a little more ammunition. If we have the bad news that somebody broke in and is living there, because to get them out can be a nightmare. And that's why we offer it as a service. But whatever you want to do is fine with me. So that's how I would handle it. It's just, up front, make the case, explain why. And sometimes people have to be sold down the road. But just make sure that you don't come across as arguing with them, that you want to come across as agreeing, but then also offering an alternative point of view.
Comment for Richard.
Go ahead.
The people who want the sign removed, generally, it's only an attractive nuisance if the lawn hasn't been mowed and the landscape looks rough. I always make sure the yards are taken care of, at least in front, so it doesn't become a problem.
There you go. Yeah, another service you can provide. And I have a listing I sold where I provided that for my client in storage. I'm still getting the bill for storage, but it's an excuse to call the attorney every month. So it's worth it for me. There we go for that. And then Kat gives us a little script there for the signs. Great. Thank you, Kat. Kat's the best. Everybody who thinks Kat's the best, put in the chat box, Kat's the best. And it's K-A-T-T, by the way. Kat's the best, just FYI. And if you don't know that, then you don't know it, but she is. Okay, other questions? I don't see any other hands up. I don't see any other questions in the question box. The best, Vince says. She is very good. So at least some of you are paying attention there. Great.
Okay, yeah, great answer. Thank you. Another quick question. When do you actually, like, I mean, I got some people that I've been calling probably the 30th time or something. I'm just like, I don't want to call these people anymore. They either don't answer or they don't return your call, whatever it may be. At what point do you just call it quits?
You know, it depends on your business. So I'll just share with you, there's two ways you can go. One's broader geographically or one's tighter geographically. One of the best real estate agents I ever met in my career, he's still practicing, he and his wife, they took one city, the city of Walnut, California. Nice city, you know, upper middle class, nice homes, a lot of, you know, builds in the 80s and 90s. And their business plan was they contacted every single expired and canceled in the city of Walnut. They didn't take the next city over. They didn't take the next city over from there, just Walnut. But they literally visited every single one in person. Probably it's a little different, but I'm just showing you the concept. And so what they would do is, if nobody was there after 30 visits, they would continue. He would print out the MLS sheet, and in the back write the date and time of when he was there last. With the idea being that if he was there on a Monday, he'd go on a Wednesday. If he was there on a Wednesday, he'd go on a Sunday. If he was in the morning, go in the afternoon or the evening. Because the goal is to meet people. And so I can't really answer the question for you, Rich, because I don't know where you are, where your whole business is, and it would probably be about a 15-minute phone call to get a professional answer for you. But I would say that either 30 is way too many, or 30 is just the number so far, and maybe you'll get them on 31. I don't know the answer to your question. But also the second part I would say is you need to verify the statistics of what you're doing. And you know, how many contacts per hour you make on phone calls. In general, so I'll give you my answer. In general, for my business, I try somebody 3 times. If it's just a piece of data, name, phone number. Oh, Bill, somebody wants you to give them a call. I'll try them 3 times and then I'll just forget about it. If I left a message or text them afterwards or an email, if they don't reach out to me, I'm not interested. I might call them again 90 days later because the data is now recycled. So it depends on where they are in your business geographically, and are you just calling probates? Or are you calling several different types of data? Let me ask you, what is your lead generation strategy? What are you doing today for building your business?
Rephrase the question, please.
You're a real estate agent?
Right.
You're full-time?
Right.
How much time do you spend a day doing lead generation or business development?
4 hours, 3 hours minimum.
On the phone?
Right.
How many contacts do you make a day?
About maybe, I try to get at least 15 to 20.
Okay. Try to get 15 to 20 is different than getting 15 or 20. Then 15 for sure, or 20. You should really pick a number, make that your minimum, and then push towards that number, right? I'm guessing then, and are you calling, you don't have them expired, I mean, that many probates, so you're calling other types of data?
Yeah, list pendants, expires, for sale by owners, and probate.
And geographically, where are you calling?
Not about 3 counties. Is that what you mean?
Let me understand, 'cause I don't know New York all that well. I know somebody.
Queens, Nassau, Suffolk.
Those are 3 pretty big territories.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going that far out, again, I'm not an expert on New York, but if you said to me LA, Orange, and San Bernardino counties, I would say you should be contacting more people per hour. You should be averaging probably closer to minimum 5, probably 8 people per hour. And so I would try then calling those piece of data 3 times, and then I might, I would hang up before the 4th ring. I would try them 3 times, and then I would recycle the data, go back 90 days later.
Wow.
Maybe how I approach it. Because you have plenty you're not getting to. If you're calling them that much, if you call somebody 30 times, there's plenty of other data you haven't called that you could get to.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Just in general. Again, that's a kind of a high overview, and I don't mean to be prescribing you the medicine as a doctor without really doing a full physical, but in general, those are concepts I think about. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, question in the chat box from Terry. She's a PR who failed to let me know about an NOD being filed. Only have 6 days to close the sale and being current, any suggestions? So Terry, what state do you do business in? I don't know about you, but in California, I mean, I can check NODs myself.
In California.
So I do that for my own properties. If it's a probate, I know nobody's paying on the mortgage. You got to just check it every week or 2 yourself. So I would rather focus on the PR not notifying you. I would just say, this is the business. This is why they need a professional agent. This is why you can't take this deal to an average agent. That's why you need me. And as far as suggestions and closing, right? Where are they in the probate test? They have letters. Is it a full authority? Is it a limited authority?
I'm ready to close escrow as long as I get it sold.
All right. Well, you shouldn't need more than 60 days. Just make sure you watch your timelines and keep an eye on the mortgage. And then depending on who the lender is, keep them in the communication loop. In California, if there's equity, the judge can always stop a foreclosure and will in most places, as long as you're making good faith effort and keep them in the loop. Tougher in Orange County, but in LA County it's pretty routine that they'll file some sort of a motion to delay the foreclosure if you're talking about weeks or 30 days or so. But you can't make up the time at the end. You got to get on it right now. So I would get in escrow right away and do what you can to get it closed. And you say notice of default, of course, you have notice default period and then a trustee sale after that. So you have 60 days to close and you have another 30 after that perhaps. So just make sure you know your timelines and watch them. I would say watch it regularly.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. George asked about RedX, good source for probate leads. I'm not aware that RedX even has. Do they have? RedX is great for expireds and for sale by owners. I don't have experience with their probate list. I know they have it. So if there's an agent online that or anybody uses RedX for probate leads, send me an email. I'd love to find out, or post in the Probate Master your experience with it. I have a list on my website. I have a list of all the data sources. I try to track that and be able to give people good references. So, okay, let's go back here. A question: based on what you explained regarding the court confirmation sale, does a probate judge typically control what the real property in probate is sold for? And they're saying the investors typically. Okay, so to answer the question, so Rose asks me, or Rose and Lawrence, I'm not sure if I'm talking to Rose or Lawrence, on a court confirmation sale, does the probate judge control the price? The answer is no. The judge confirms the price or doesn't confirm the price. And you have to make that case. Recently I had we actually went up to 2.3 million confirmed. There were objectors. They wanted to say, oh, you were underselling it. The reality is they had a chance to bid more. They had months that they could have come in with an offer. They didn't. And so my job as a real estate agent was to present that we properly marketed the property, that we properly reviewed every possible offer, and we brought in the best offer in the case. And if you do that, my experience is the judge will confirm it. And if you don't, then the judge won't. And so, but the judge confirms the price, and you have to give them the evidence, I think, to get them to do that. A lot of love for Kat today, you guys. Good job. She's fantastic and does a good job running this thing here for me. So thank you. Okay, I don't see any other. I think I've covered all the questions. If I missed one, I see Maggie, you got your hand up, but your camera off. Maggie, what's up with you? How can we help you real quick before we finish?
Good
There you go.
afternoon. Yeah, good
Maggie.
afternoon. So I took Probate Mastery quite a while ago, and I haven't really been as aggressive as I probably wanted to be. And I'm listening to, this program from time to time, and I see that people are serious about this, and they're doing their thing and they're getting results. So my question is this. I recently came across someone who had a reverse mortgage. Their parent passed, the last of the two parents, and they had a reverse mortgage, and they wanted to sell the property. And so initially I said, gee, I would love to help you sell the property. I am an agent, by the way. And I said, however, I'm also an investor and I might be interested, or some other investor. And I said, if you're looking for a quick sale, maybe we can get it done quicker. And long story short, they came back and said, well, I've got a cousin who really would like to have this property. They're not financially able, but they're going to look around and see if they can get the funding to do so. So it's been about a week, and I want to call them again. And I don't want to press the point about me buying the property.
Right.
So my question is, how would you approach that situation, knowing that there is a reverse mortgage, knowing that there's a potential buyer who may or may not be qualified, and knowing that I personally may want to purchase a property not at the market price?
Yeah, I think it's hard to do both in the same lead. So I don't know how to answer the question. You kind of went down that path. I think that sellers are rightfully scared. Are you my agent? Are you an investor? Can you do both? I think you have to overcome that fear initially, and then you continue that relationship if you can do both. So personally, I only approach people as a broker, but I work with investors all the time. And I think one of the strengths I have is I have certain investors I've worked with a lot. They become good friends, good clients. But when I list a property, I have a contract in my mind to that seller to get them top dollar. I mean, I have to look out for their interests. So I don't bring an investor in unless it's best for the seller. In my case, I'm not going to give it to them on the cheap because it's best for my investor client. I'm not allowed to do that. But sometimes I'll say to the investor, listen, I need to get an offer in right away because we have a foreclosure pending or we have a court confirmation. And if your offer holds up, it's a great deal for you. And if it doesn't hold up, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So it's a challenge when you kind of go one way or the other and you're not sure what you are. Well, how are they sure what you are? That's, I think, the challenge you've created in a sense. As far as follow-up, One of the reasons we follow up is we're auditioning for the job. Sellers want real estate agents who are persistent, who have a system, who are organized, who follow through on things. And so when we follow up on leads, that's showing them that we're doing our job, not just when we have the listing, but we're doing our job even before the listing. And I tell people all the time, when they say you're persistent, I say, yeah, imagine how persistent I am when I have your property listed on getting it sold. That's what you want, right? So I don't think you can be too aggressive, or I should say too assertive on the follow-up. And when we worry about that, probably that's generally wrong. But we always want our follow-up to be of value to the customer, not of value to us.
Mhm.
And so I might say, I'm just checking back. I know you mentioned you have reverse mortgage, and I know there's a clock ticking on those things. And sometimes I found families that will wait too long to get the property marketed are then at the end rushed, avoiding foreclosure and might lose money. I'm just here to help. Have you had any more discussions with your family member? I also know family members will oftentimes take forever to make that decision. Or it's a nice way of saying they don't want to say they don't qualify. Their relative doesn't want to press the issue with them. And particularly if they're living in the house, that's a whole nother level. If they live in the house, they'd rather live there for free forever than ever buy the property. So depending on your situation, I would just say I would always follow up, find a reason to follow up that's of value to the prospect. Timeline on the foreclosure is a good one for you, or timeline on the reverse mortgage. You might check the public records, see if an entity has been filed. It is public information. You might have an article about reverse mortgages and probate that you can send to them. Or you just might generally talk about the real estate market. I'm not sure where it is. I know you're in Maryland, we've talked before.
Yes.
I don't know if it's cooling off where you are or not. You might just want to pass on whatever market information you have. We want to be of value to our prospects. Okay.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that helps me, and I will most definitely follow up. But also, I've heard people talk about marketing, and that's something that I just haven't been doing in terms of probate. And so, is anyone using the new program? I forget what it's called, that Chad put out with the attorneys? Earn.
Right.
Yeah.
So
is that
earn attorney referrals now. I took it. I'm also a teacher on one of the segments in it.
Okay.
I was great. Most of my business are attorney referral. I think he did a great job. I think he also brought in a couple of good attorneys that helped explain it. But it's like everything else. It's kind of like tools at Home Depot. Personally, I don't even hang pictures. I call my son-in-law to do them for me. So occasionally I go to Home Depot to buy extension cords or light bulbs, and I walk around feeling very manly. But I'm not going to buy any tools there because I'm never going to use them. And so I would say to you, it's the same thing with this program. It's great if you use it, but you got to do the work. There's no shortcut to making the phone calls and doing the work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks, Maggie. Okay. So if you're a business seller, you should become an investor. Vince, I agree with you, but everybody has their own judgments and their own ethics and morals in different states and different circumstances. But in general, I only approach them as one, and I wouldn't switch hats. But again, if your approach is you're a realtor and investor, you start that way up front, explain how it's good for the customer. I'm game for that. Just be upfront about that. And then Larry says, what results do the survivors want? Offer that solution. Exactly. We always want to find what the customer needs and offer that. Jim points out the clock is ticking the risk mortgage. Yeah, the clock ticks. The funny thing about these mortgages these days, it used to be you could work with a mortgage lender and they would, negotiate, they'd hold off. Now I think they all will tell you that they'll work with you, but none of them really do. My experience is they're all racing to foreclosure. They sell the servicing to a new company, which is often their own department that does nothing but foreclosures. And so in my experience on reverse mortgages, you get whatever's in the statute as far as the time periods. Once that's up, they're going to turn it over to foreclosure if you don't move on it. And the balance is growing all the time. Let's see. Vince says, as a realtor, you have specific knowledge others don't have. And the attorney could argue that you took advantage of the seller. I'd agree with you. I would say definitely being a realtor, you have certain obligations to tell customers. Okay, and be a fiduciary and a salesperson. I would agree with you. Okay, good. It looks like we got some good information and time to wrap up. So let me go back again. Bill Gross. This call is a Probate Mastery weekly call. We do this every week on 12 o'clock noon on Tuesdays, 3 o'clock Pacific time, 12 o'clock noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Recordings are on the website as well as the YouTube channel. I'm Bill Gross, the LA Probate Expert. I'm also on YouTube and other social media at Bill Gross EXP. Love to help if I can. Thank you all for being on the call. Thanks to those who contributed. Make it a great week, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.